What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of V42 Your Eternity. This is episode 14, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So, picking up immediately after the last episode, so we find out the girl that that apparently lured Fushi and Pioran to this island. Her name is Tonari?
Tonari.
Yeah. So Fushi's like still trying to find a way to free Pioran from being held prisoner somewhere on the island, but of course, like, you know, no matter how many times he tries to climb over that wall or wherever, you know, supposedly she's being held at, he keeps falling down over and over again. So Tonari suggests that Fushi participate in this tournament. That, you know, if whoever wins the tournament will gain control of the island or become its chief, and then take charge of everything, maybe even free Pioran if he has the chance. But what Fushi doesn't know, that he's getting himself into like a gladiatorial death match.
Yeah, this kind of feels like a tournament arc from like a shonen series. I mean, technically this is a shonen series, but it's not like a battle shonen or whatever, like how you'd usually see and stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting. I mean, and also, like we mentioned before, it feels like Fushi's kind of going to have an unfair advantage being an immortal, which does come up in this episode, because, yeah, he does take part in this fight. And basically, we just, like, even the announcer, like that person announcing the fight, gets killed. and then it gets replaced by another announcer who I think also gets killed. And then everybody just goes out into the arena and just starts killing each other.
Well, basically everyone except one guy, and end up dead. And
yeah,
but of course, like, this also left Fushi in a dilemma, because he's trying so hard not to reveal his abilities to, like, literally everybody, except, you know. But of course, he's also trying to participate in order to free Pioran as well. So he tries to participate, but of course the last remaining guy alive ends up throwing an axe in his head, and of course Fushi doesn't go down, and the guy comes back. He just repeatedly stabs him with multiple different weapons, like, all over his body, but Fushi, of course, still doesn't go down, and this pretty much leads to that last remaining guy to just somehow faint and of course lose the match, which,
yeah,
I mean, well, pretty much everyone on the island know that Fushi's immortal now, and I was a little bit surprised at how well they're taking that.
Yeah, I know. I thought this was going to be this would have been much more of a, I don't know, like a detrimental thing now that everybody knows. But because, I mean, before this happens too, like, we get a scene where Fushi gets these flashbacks of Boozman telling him that if everybody knew about his immortality, it would start, like, of all the bad things that could happen because of it, like it could start wars or something, or it would have, like, yeah.
I mean, there is one thing. I mean, well, he is on an island full of prisoners that is isolated from the, from normal population. So I guess he would be safe for now. But if he were to do this again, like, you know, in normal society, then a lot of people would, you know, like, have a problem with it. It just seems like the people living on this island are not, I would say, normal in certain aspects.
Well, a lot of the people living there are like slaves or prisoners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, same can go with Tonari's group. And of course, you know, they end up celebrating with Fushi, and then of course they try charging people just to, you know, come up and talk to Fushi.
Yeah, because everybody's like worshiping him like a god now.
Yeah, and of course, like, you know, Fushi doesn't want any of this, like, you know, grand adulation from, like, you know, from the crowd, so he just tries to run away and tries to look for Pioran again. But of course, like, Tonari tells him, you know, he has to compete, you know, the rest of the tournament by going up against somebody else. And, you know, along the way, Fushi just, like, pretty much explores more of the entire island, including areas and where people are literally getting lynched left to right, and is pretty much sick Fushi to the point where he doesn't believe like Tonari's group are even considered normal at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he also gets introduced to different parts of the island, and then there's different like I guess you would say like these prisoners also are like, you know, doing pretty much slave labor, working on like farms and stuff, and the prisoners are identified with these markings on their hand. The prisoners have the only difference like so I think there's like the residents of the island, and then there's like the prisoners. Like the prisoners have like this circle on their hand with the mark, and the people that live there, they don't have that. Which Tonari doesn't have one. So
yeah, Tonari has like just a regular triangle on her palm, while just regular prisoners have the same triangle, but it has a circle inside of it. And Fushi would likely have the same thing had he not easily healed from that, unless he just pops it out of his hand again. But I doubt that he would even want to.
Another weird detail is they have these like 3 churches where I guess people live. And I don't know if they like Tonari says they practice different religions there or something. So, it's a little bit strange. Like I don't know how that works, but
they kind of brush through a lot of stuff really quickly in this episode and establishing what this island is about. But of course, I think we only have like a few episodes left, so I don't know if that would really be even important to the the overall plot.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder if it's actually going to be important. I mean, why bother to bring it up? I guess if it's not going to be somewhat important, I guess.
Yeah. So Fushi's of course training to work on his archery skills a little bit more, and of course he's gotten a little bit better, but of course he doesn't. Well, he's trying to hit bats in the middle of the night. So I have
no idea how he would see where he's trying to shoot. Like if he's trying to like maybe it might not be the best time to practice something like that in the middle of the night. Like I mean, he's not even. I mean, he's already not good at archery, but
yeah. I think the reason why he's doing that is so he can gain the bat's flying abilities.
Experience.
He not only that, but he's trying to kill like a flying creature just so he can transform into one and then fly over the wall that supposedly Pioran is at. Another thing we forgot to mention is like of what Tonari mentions about Pioran. Supposedly, like Pioran was a criminal from decades prior, and she ended up poisoning at least a dozen people when she was younger. So Tonari is trying to justify why she lured Pioran to the island in the first place.
Yeah, and that also leads to a flashback, which when she first introduced herself, she introduced herself as a prisoner, which I guess I forgot about that. So I guess she was sort of, I guess this whole time like a wanted fugitive, which I just we just kind of forgot, like we didn't really think of like that she what she was on the run for in the first place.
Yeah, I mean I remember like Hayase used Pioran as some kind of fake priestess for for that fake ritual that they were doing earlier on in the series. But yeah, it's interesting to if they bring it up. But of course, Fushi at the time just doesn't believe that Pioran would really do something like that. So he's still determined to even to try to free her again. And of course, he has another conversation with his creator again, asking if. He tries.
What's he calling his creator now? By the way, like he calls it like the black one, the dark one,
the black one, whatever he's calling it. I mean, technically, that's not his name, but
we don't really know his true name, so
he's Fushi's creator. He asked his creator if he can use his abilities to teleport himself to Pioran, but of course, his creator just outright refuses to do so because he doesn't. I don't think he has the ability to do something like that. He only appears in front of Fushi just to guide him in some ways to, I don't know, gain new abilities or learn different aspects of the world or something.
Yeah, his creator says that you have to learn these things yourself. Like you can't rely on me for those types of things. So I mean, he's just he's basically just there to like pretty much converse with Fushi, not so much to like, I guess, get directly involved. Yeah.
And so he also tries to talk to Fushi about the willingness to really kill people from time to time. But of course, Fushi just doesn't, is reluctant to even do so because he feels it's wrong to really kill someone for whatever reason. But of course, there's also another interesting thing that that his creator mentions about Gugu ended up dying a few episodes ago. He mentions that Gugu chose to die in order to save Fushi. I mean that's like an interesting revelation to hear about like what happened to to Gugu at the time.
Well, yeah, and he also said like you killed him, which I guess is what he meant was that Gugu died because Fushi decided to stay with Gugu and of course led the knockers to him.
I mean, it's not like he really intended to do so. And even,
but I guess he's trying to imply that Fushi knew what would happen had he stayed, and that is what ended up happening. So I mean, I see where he's coming from with that, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that kind of takes agency away from Gugu because like Gugu, he died. I mean, like because he was also protecting Fushi, but as well as protecting Rian. So I mean, you could make that argument if something were to happen with to Rian, even if Fushi weren't there, Gugu still would have tried to, like probably give his life for her. So I feel like that sort of thing might have happened regardless. But I mean, yeah, of course, like the knockers probably, were of course the ones that end up, killing Gugu. And if Fushi weren't there, then the knockers probably wouldn't have killed him. But then if you have to think of it another way too, like if Fushi didn't spend that time with Gugu, he also wouldn't have gained or gotten such like the strong impression or whatever, learned all the things he did from living with Gugu. So he did end up getting something out of that. I would say also along with Gugu and everybody else. So like I wouldn't say that was like it was Fushi made like a bad decision there.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't. I mean, he still wasn't technically strong enough to go up against the knockers at the time. So, I mean, but yeah, I don't think like, Fushi's creator making that sentiment was a really fair distinction, in my opinion. I just think
it felt like he was trying to guilt trip him or something, by saying, because I mean, if you remember too, before that time skip happened, like when he talked to Fushi, he was like, you should leave. You shouldn't stay here because bad things will happen to everybody here. So I mean, like it just seemed like he was trying to get at him because he decided to stay and not follow his creator's advice.
And of course, like I said earlier, like he's trying to encourage Gugu to try to get into a situation where he has to kill someone as a necessity. And
Fushi's kind of like a pacifist right now. I mean, because as we see later in the episode, he really goes out of his way not to kill people.
Yeah, and of course, later what happens that night? Some person in a robed figure just comes out of nowhere and then ends up licking his face in the middle of the night. And
yeah, I wasn't sure who this was at first, to be honest with you. Like I thought. I mean, she looked familiar, but I could not tell because she looks kind of different too. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure, like Spade said, like he thinks it's Hayase, and I would have to agree just based on how she's acting.
That is Hayase because if you remember,
we do see her in the opening too, I think, and she kind of looks like that. So I mean,
because she has those two long, enormous scars like going down in both of her eyes, and those are the exact same scars that he inflicted on her, like. Before he ended up running away. So it's
I guess Hayase must have just totally lost her mind too or something. She's just become crazy over the years because I mean I'm not saying she might not have done something like that before, but I have to wonder what the hell like what happened to her, especially since like the last time we saw her, like we still don't know like what happened with when she tried to, I guess, invade Perona's village, or or go after Fushi in the beginning of the series.
Yeah. So we also find out that Hayase is, of course, one of the other competitors in the Death tournament, and it's likely that Fushi is going to end up facing off against her later, probably maybe in the next episode or two. But yeah, so the next day, like, Fushi's still trying to climb over that wall, but of course later he accidentally kills, like, I think a little mole or whatever that small creature was that was bordering underneath the ground. And of course, like, he tries to apologize and accidentally attacking it, but of course it does end up dying anyway. But of course, in the process, he's able to transform into that figure too, and of course he tries to burrow underneath it for like a giant eagle ended up grabbing him from out of nowhere, which I found kind of funny that it happened. But yeah, so soon afterwards he ends up falling down to the ground in front of Tonari's group, and then shortly afterwards he ends up going back to the arena again to face off against another guy. And it becomes pretty clear that the only way he can save Pioran is just go through the entire tournament, just because he knows that he can't die from any injury or from any attack from anyone.
Yeah, like the guy he's fighting continually just encourages him to kill him. But Fushi just tries to find ways to like scare him, but that doesn't really work. Yeah.
And he also transforms into he didn't transform much into anything other than Goo Goo by using his his fire abilities.
Yeah, he transformed into the wolf, and then he transformed into Goo Goo, and he used fire to like kind of scare him.
Yeah, but of course, like he's also thinking that he could, he wanted to transform it into something bigger and more terrifying. But of course, as we know, the Knocker stole his giant bear form for a few episodes prior. Then all of a sudden he remembers something else. Like, of course, he ends up remembering Perona from back then, and then all of a sudden he ends up transforming into her, which I'm like, how did that happen? I mean, so we know that somebody has to like leave a strong impression on Fushi for him to transform into them, and that they also have to be dead. But I mean, I don't know. Like, are they implying that Perona might be dead? Because we don't really know. I mean, well, Fushi doesn't know either. Like, what if she's alive or dead? And Perona doesn't. I mean, I don't know if like Perona left as big of an impression on Fushi as like March. So maybe because he can't transform into March, or he can't remember March now. It makes sense as to why he would transform into Perona, because there were times when she did interact with him several times and encouraged him to live his life after he left her village.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also wondering if the reason why he transformed into Perona is because now he can't remember March, so the other person he, I guess, could remember would be Perona. But like I said, we don't know if she's alive or dead, so I'm kind of wondering like if she is still alive, with him actually transforming into her.
There's one thing I can probably point to is it's likely that Hayase has something to do with this. Because she's on that island competing in that same tournament. She's likely there to go after Fushi after 4 years of looking for him, and if Fushi's able to transform in Perona, it's likely that Hayase may have likely killed her for trying to stop her from capturing Fushi in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I could figure. Is it she got killed, Hayase killed her. So yeah, I mean that's most likely what might have happened, because because I can't really think of any other reason why he would be able to transform into her.
So I mean unless some kind of miracle happened, but it's like if he's able to transform into her, then it's like her being dead is the most likely scenario, which which would be pretty upsetting to to Fushi if he found out about that, or or maybe it's likely that he now knows about that.
Yeah, I mean that would be the assumption he'd probably have to make, considering every other time he'd transform into somebody, that person is dead. So I'm guessing maybe the next episode he'll maybe make that kind of assumption, but
from when he transformed, he at first he doesn't even realize he even transformed into her, and his only reaction is that he felt lighter when he transformed into her. But it's likely, like, if he looks into a reflection, and it's likely that he'll pretty much catch on to that. But
yeah, I mean, he doesn't even realize he is Perona right now. Probably, he doesn't know what he looks like.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to wait until like next week to find out what exactly is going to happen. Is Heisei going to end up? Well, I'm pretty sure Heisei is still going to end up confronting him later on in the tournament, just because of how skilled she is in combat.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. Like, it was interesting. Like, I mean, it's. I'm kind of curious as to where it's going. I mean, obviously, this probably won't be a very long arc, considering we are kind of getting a little bit closer to the end of the season.
I think we're 5-6 more episodes left to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I would really wish it would be a little bit like 4 more episodes longer, considering how short of a series this is, unless they're planning on announcing a season 2, which I would. I mean, it
is an ongoing manga series, so they could announce another season.
But hopefully we'll get to find out a little bit more by next week's episode, because it's like after what happened at the end of this episode in particular, I'm even more curious of how this is going to play out.
Yeah. Well, we know there's probably going to be more fights in the tournament, if the opening is anything to go by. And I guess, it's also, I'm also wondering, if Fushi's going to, end up having to kill people, because he's like, as he is right now, he really doesn't want to kill anybody. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to play out. Like, is he going to try to kill anybody, or is he going to try to like pacify them somehow? I feel like he's eventually going to have to be like forced to kill somebody, though. I think that's probably what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, but with Heisei being there, I think it's going to lead into a situation where, because if I remember correctly, because Heisei was also the one who ended up killing March, and that led to Fushi at the time like wanting to kill her, like out of anger. So
I'm wondering if he's going to like want revenge. After he sees her, because like he knows Heisei killed March, whether if it was intentional or not, because she March was the one who took the shot trying to protect Perona at the time. So I think like if Fushi ends up meeting Heisei again, he's likely to have some kind of issues with her, probably by seeing her again later in this tournament. Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling, just knowing the kind of character Heisei is, she might like provoke him or antagonize him, like try to get him to kill her. So I mean, that'll be interesting. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say. Yeah, I thought this was an interesting episode, developing more of a Fushi's character a little bit more, including revealing maybe a few more things about Puron that we probably didn't know about, and hopefully we'll get to know a little bit more about her, assuming if she's still alive, or if, depending on how much longer she's going to last, and also the plot where Heisei is finally back after all this time is going to be an interesting twist. Yeah, but that all being said, until next Monday, we will see you all next time.